In Africa, help is what we do. That is why we at FNB are relentlessly driven to provide real help to you, the passionate and courageous, the creators and the optimists. These are the entrepreneurs we support, the communities we uplift. It is because of you that real help is what we do. FNB, how can we help you?
Mentoring is nothing new, dating back thousands of years. Those familiar with our history would remember the ancient Greek poem Odyssey by Homer. In this poem, dating back 3,000 odd years, we see the protagonist Mentor entrusted with Odysseus' son when he fought in the Trojan War. It is from this very poem that the concept of mentoring originated, so much so that its very name was also coined. The benefits of this engagement where a mentor acts as a guide to their mentee, imparting their wisdom and showing them the ropes around life in general are immense, from helping them build a network of champions within their professional space, expanding their view of the world, to growing personally. Even though it has been proven that enrolling for mentorship programs can catapult mentees unbelievably ahead in their careers, it is not many who actually enroll. Statistics show that while 76% of people believe that mentorship is important, only 37% of them participate. The question is, why is a concept considered so valuable to one's professional progression, having such a low uptake? Emily Summers, who is a mentor herself, joins us this evening via Zoom meetings all the way from the United Kingdom, where she is based as part of the British High Commission team.
There's a couple of things. One, I think people just are, or they feel that they are too busy to stop, take that step back, think about what is it that I need to do to grow in my professional career or indeed in my personal life. How do I get there? Who can help me? How do I approach them? And I think people, we're all so busy. There's so much going on that people are often thinking, I just don't have time, or they're not even stopping to think about it. In my organisation, mentorship is strongly encouraged as a way of learning. We do the 70-20-10 approach to learning, which is effectively 70% of your learning is on the job. It's your day-to-day, it's how you do things, how you interact with people, learning the technical skills, that sort of thing. 20% is around things like mentorship, coaching, going off and spending some time job shadowing and that sort of thing. And then 10% is just that course. It's the sort of inline, online or classroom learning. And I think people either feel that they're just too busy or they just don't see mentorship as a way of learning and developing. So I think there's something to be done there about sharing that information, expressing that. I work in an organisation that encourages it strongly. So how many of us as leaders, as bosses, are encouraging it as well as stepping in? You might benefit from this individual spending time with that. And I know myself, there are some amazing people in Botswana that if you approach them and say, do you think you'd be able to help this individual with this? 95% of the time they say yes. So I think it's taking that time and encouraging it as leaders are probably the two things that need to be done and probably the two things that aren't being done.
What are your observations with regards to mentorship by various stakeholders in Botswana, be they corporate entities, executives, or just young professionals?
In my time in Botswana, I was mentoring lots of people in slightly different ways, depending on what they needed and who they needed. I was also linking people up with different individuals, depending on what their goals were and where they were going, using my networks. And I had a relative profile about it, so people were approaching me directly. And I think people are doing it intuitively. As I said, most of the time, if I ask someone and I say, person X is really interested in joining the Botswana Foreign Service, will you, Officer Y, spend some time with them? They always said yes. But I don't know if is there something around formalising that a little bit more, building the networks, the contacts and bringing people together potentially. I know it's happening in some of the private sector areas, but again, how formal is that? And do people need it to be a bit more formal? I mean, personally, I like a bit of a mix of formal and informal mentorship, just for a bit of fun and a bit of diversity. But again, how formal do you want it to be? And I think also it goes back to what we said just now. on perhaps why it's not been taken up. You really need to know what it is you want out of this relationship for it to work. It is a relationship just like any other relationship, and you need to know what your goals are for you to be able to make it happen. So maybe there's a bit more work to be done there. Although Lillian Moremi is doing a lot of amazing work at the moment with women and young women on this sort of thing. So let's building on those sorts of things, I think, would be useful. Diversity, obviously, diversity for a lot of people is around the protected characteristics. So whether it's your gender, your race, your age, your nationality, whatever it may be. But I think there's also something important through mentorship around diversity of thought and approach to things, diversity of seeing the world and perceiving it in different ways. And I think some of the most successful mentoring relationships I've had are where either I've been able slightly different perspective from things. So I really saw it with Nwa, where I was the only white person, the only white woman, and I was slightly worried. What can I, as someone who has got white privilege, who comes from the UK, who's super lucky in the way that she was born and the family she was born into, what can I offer these amazing young black women? But actually, it turns out I could offer them some things around looking at stuff like, what is it society is expecting of you as a woman? Now, I have the freedom to say, you know what, I don't want to get married or I don't want children, but not everybody has that freedom. So again, being able to provide a slightly different perspective on something, or indeed being able to use that white privilege to open doors, that I think is there. But it was a worry at first, definitely. And that's not just because of the colour of my skin, it's also the way that I've been brought up, the way I see things, which is slightly different, and the society or the culture that I've been brought up in. So I think diversity is incredibly important, but it's got to be used in the right way. And you've got to be conscious of your privilege.
How much of a difference do you think we would see in the professionals and personal spaces of professionals here in Botswana if they had access to suitable mentors, or if we had a culture of mentorship?
All right, okay, I can only talk from personal experience, but as well as being a mentor, I have been a mentee a number of times. And for me, professionally, it has helped me grow. It's helped me move along the career path and up the ladder. But I think most importantly, it's really helped me think through particular issues or problems that I've been facing. Whether that is something in the context of the way I was being treated as a woman in a very male, patriarchal structure in the UK, let's face it, very white middle-aged male actually, or whether it's a very technical thing around, I've got someone who's working for me who's not responding, I don't really know what's going on, how do I engage with them? It's across the path. And I think as a professional, you can benefit in two ways. One is the immediate issue or problem that you're facing and getting a different perspective on it, as we've mentioned. But secondly, it may be also looking at someone who you admire, their approach and how you're doing it, and doing a longer term mentoring piece on checking in every month or every couple of months to sort of see where things are, learn from that individual and see what more pearls of wisdom they may have for you. As I say, some of the best relationships I've had, particularly as a mentee, is when I've known exactly what it is I want to get out of that relationship and why that individual is particularly important to that.
Where do you think is the starting point to establish this ethos on mentoring?
Okay, people love being flattered, yes? People like to be told that they're good at something and that they've got skills, and etc. So I think it's down to the individual. And I've had a couple of amazing young women approach me in the last 6 months of my time in Botswana who I'd never met before. They'd seen me on Twitter, they'd seen me doing mentoring, and they DM'd me and said, I'd really like to learn this from you or that from you. And they made that step and reached out. And I think that is what's incredibly important, is again, the individual knowing what it is they want to do, what it is they want to address, or what it is they would like to talk through and learn about, but at the same, and then taking that time to step out. And every time I've done it, and I have done it, I did it a few times in Botswana with a couple of really amazing women, and stepped out and said, okay, I really want to learn this from you, or I'm really struggling with this in my working relationships here. How do I go about dealing with that? You seem to do it really well. All of them said yes, because of course what I was saying to them is, you're brilliant and I want to learn from you. And it's very rare, unless they're very, very, very busy, that someone will say no. So to formalise it, I think that's around organisations, young, and particularly around young people doing that and matching up more experience. Now, it isn't necessarily age, but more experience people with those who want to learn. But it's also about the individual reaching out and saying, I want to learn from you.
This program was brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?